Mayor, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Elmwood Park Mayor and Council for April 5th, 2012 to order. On roll call, Councilmembers Castiglione.
Here.
Galletti.
Here.
Conboy.
Here.
Drewinski.
Here.
Monsino.
Here.
Councilman Work is absent due to work-related commitment. Mayor Moore.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Will everyone please rise for our prayer and blessing? Lord God, our Father, we ask you to bless this meeting and trust in your fatherly care and protection. Please remove all selfishness from our hearts and plant them in the keen sense of justice and the great love for you and our Lady. Guide us in our deliberations so our decisions will always please you and bring peace and happiness to our community. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chapter 231, Public Law, State of New Jersey requires the Commission meeting stated by the presiding officer. Now therefore be advised. Compliance for this meeting have been done by posting an annual notice in the record of Woodland Park and Herald News of Woodland Park, and by posting such notice in the office of the Borough Clerk's office or the public place within the municipal building, and by notifying interested citizens. Said notice was posted on January 1, 2012. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting, as all future meetings, will be on cable. That's channel 77. Now, I just was informed today, in fact, I know now, we have just one day that the meeting is going to be on our cable, and that's Thursday, between 4 and 7 p.m. We do not have jurisdiction as to what days the meeting is televised. We used to get 2 days. We'll find out next week why we're only getting one at this point, but it's again on Thursday, channel 77, between 4 and 7 p.m. Or you can watch it on our website, www.elmwoodparknj.us. Thank you.
Mayor, under the approval of minutes this evening, we have the March 15, 2012 regular meeting, March 22nd, 2012 work session, and the March 22nd, 2012 executive session.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Chewinski, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Monsino. Any discussion? Call the roll. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries. Mayor, this evening under ordinances on first reading, we have resolution 122-12, introduce ordinance 12-05 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled an ordinance creating a new chapter entitled Volunteer Emergency Standby Guidelines be passed and adopted on first reading. Be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, April 19, 2012 at 8 p.m. Soon thereafter, as the same can be heard, at which time and place all persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper. Notice of introduction and final hearing is required by law.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Chewinski, second.
Second.
Mr. Castiglia, any discussion? Mr. Chewinski, you want to explain that a little bit?
Yes, this ordinance is for fire department and emergency services, whereby in state of emergency, the state's been paying out funds to the towns on an overtime basis, and since I was a fireman to get some revenue out of this. Thank you.
Okay, when there's an emergency, we have our police out, and everybody else out. Many of the members of the fire department go out in the emergency, and we feel that they should be compensated with that. We usually get additional monies from the FEMA when that happens, so we'd like to see that happen. Call the roll, please.
On roll call, Councilmembers Castiglione.
Yes.
Galletti.
Yes.
Conboy.
Yes.
Drewinski.
Yes.
Monsino.
Yes.
Work. Resolution 123-12, introduce ordinance 12-06 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to authorize the making various public improvements in by and for the Borough of Elmwood Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $999,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds, to finance such appropriation, and to provide for issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the the issuance of such bonds be passed and adopted on first reading, be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, April 19, 2012, at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the same can be heard, at which time and place all persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk be and he is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper a notice of introduction and final hearing is required by law.
Motion, please. Mr. Stiglia, second.
Second.
Mr. Boncino, any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, if I may. This ordinance basically is for infrastructure improvements, roads, culverts, pipes, and the like. And it's attached to the ordinance if anybody's interested in seeing the numbers.
Okay, and if I can comment on that also, the ordinance is for $999,000. However, Kip Avenue, Section 4, is county monies, federal money through the CD program, Community Development Program, and the Molnar Drive resurfacing is from a state grant, so 1.5 of that. Oh, then there's a storage tank for $125,000 that we have to pay for. The road program we have to pay for, but half of this is paid for by outside funds. So it's not $1 billion that we're funding using taxpayers' money. We just have to put it all together. Full roll, please.
Roll call, council members. Castiglione?
Yes.
Galetti?
Yes.
Conboy?
Yes.
Jaworski?
Yes.
Monsino?
Yes.
Work is absent. Motion carries.
If I can make another little comment on that, we do have to pay for the storage tanks. We have to take them out. That's a state mandate, and if you hear the council, the people watching this know that I'm forever complaining about state mandate, we pay. I would like to see state mandate, state pays. If they're going to mandate that we take all these things out, they should give us the money to take it out. We have to pay close to $150,000 to take these out. And it's nice when you're a state senator or a state assembly person and you just say, this is a good idea, let's do it, and let the towns pay for it. That's wrong. If they want to do it and they feel it's an environmental problem, give us the money, we'll be glad to do it. Then they hold us to a 2% cap and say, well, you put this outside the cap. You still have to pay its taxes. I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Resolution 124-12, introduce ordinance 12-03 on first reading. Be resolved that an ordinance entitled ordinance to fix the salary, wage, and compensation of the police department of the Borough of Elmwood Park, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, from January 1st, 2012 through December 31st, 2014, be passed and adopted on first reading. And be resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, April 19th, 2012, at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the same can be heard at the time and place all persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk be and he is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper a notice of introduction and final hearing is required by law.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Paletti, second.
Second.
Mr. Truinsky, discussion?
Mayor, if I may, this ordinance was originally introduced at our last meeting and it was set for final adoption this evening. However, during that time period, we received a copy of the contract from Mr. Lockey's office, who is the PBA attorney. That was immediately sent over to finance and payroll so that they could begin to implement the new numbers based on the negotiated and settled contract. At that time, payroll, along with our chief financial officer, alerted my office that there was an appendix in that contract that was missing. We immediately contacted Mr. Gibbons' office and he reached out to Mr. Lockey's office. The ordinance had been advertised with only 4 appendixes that were required, and in fact, 5 were required. So if you will take a look at the ordinance that is attached, in addition to the contract that will be voted on after the consent agenda this evening, the reason we are reintroducing is so that we are voting on a complete contract.
Any comments?
Yes.
Mr. Boncino?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Since we're reintroducing this ordinance, and in light of the fact there are a number of members of the PBA, I reiterate my comments from last month, so there's no question as to my position on the contract and the negotiation process that was just completed. From day one of negotiations, salary steps, longevity, and senior officer status has been the focus of council's attention. Salary steps range from 10 to 25% increase per year It could lead to a six-figure salary in as little as 3 years. The 2011 contractual salary of current census of officers is in excess of $3.6 million. Longevity ranges from 1 to 8%, depending on years of service. Longevity amounts to $112,000, or some 3.1% of the current contractual salary. Senior officer status provides half the differential to the next rank for 17 years in greater service. Senior officer status amounts to $60,000, or 1.6% of the contractual salary. As I mentioned last month, in essence, we have 3 contractor provisions that basically address the same thing, time and position, with no regard to additional capability or certification. In other words, the employee's value to the organization. In my opinion, the new contract does not address these redundant contract items adequately. However, the majority of my frustration is in this contract sits in relation to the 2% cap that New Jersey provides as part of the toolkit for municipalities. My position is that the contract value exceeds the 2%. During my tenure on council, I have heard that we have this toolkit to assist us in bringing our costs under control. But when the rubber hits the road, it turns out this toolkit is just words. There's nothing behind it. So for these reasons, I can't vote yes for this contract. However, I certainly understand the PBA's position, their need to look out for themselves, the best interests of their families, and the like. I also recognize that the PBA deserves nothing less than to have a contract in place as they go about doing their job, protecting this municipality. So I certainly can't vote no. However, I will abstain as I did last month. One final point I'd like to make while I'm on the police, as police liaison, I 100% support the PBA and the work that they do. I've been working with Chief Johnson to address the staffing and organizational needs of the department. Just this week, the police committee, which includes Councilman Castiglia, Councilman Work, and myself, met with Chief Johnson and Lieutenant DePasquale to discuss, among other things, the impact on the Board of Education decision on busing, accreditation of the department, and staffing. Chief Johnson recommended to us that we add 2 new patrol officers to our census. I and the entire committee fully support this recommendation, and I intend to bring this recommendation forward to the entire council at an upcoming board meeting.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make a few if I may. I first want to start off by indicating with this reintroducing of it. I take full part of my own blame in negotiations with the PBA. We had several meetings with them, with their president of the PBA, Dave Myers, who's in the audience tonight, and some of his members as well. Throughout those meetings, I let past influences or past comments made by our residents or even by former outgoing councilmen about how we should attack this PBA contract. So I apologize for those actions that I let come into my play here. But then moving forward, I feel where both sides neglected to do their research or homework, whatever you may call it, would be in the fact of the new guidelines touched on by Councilman Boncino. These guidelines have been put into place for mayors and councils throughout the state, as well as the unions, to analyze how we go about moving forward to help give more relief to our taxpayers, and what those ramifications are of those. At the very end, near the wire of where we needed to take a step to go forward, or to prevent another step, I guess, to go in another direction, we held a meeting. At that meeting, it had been decided that we should explore the options that are available to us under these toolkit laws or guidelines set up by both sides of the aisle in Trenton. And then we explored those. Well, not really exploring them, we also quickly evaluated the ramifications of those things. And could take a long time, could put having a contract in place with our police officers at risk too, that could take up to a number of years, if all the scenarios that were portrayed to us played out. I continue and will always continue, whether I'm a councilman or a resident, support our local police department. I have always supported our outgoing chief, Chief Gasolino, and our current new chief, Chief Johnson. As I've sat here as a councilman, I've had to oversee some things regarding the police department give my opinion, give my vote, give my support. I always have. Back a couple of years back, there was the issue with the COPS grant, whether or not that money would be there a year later. Many of us hedged that it wouldn't be. There was only really funding for 1 year. That turned out to be true. Regardless of that matter, we then went ahead and we put on 2 more new police officers that are currently on the force today and are flourishing and growing in years. Various promotions have come across our desk. Not one have we ever turned down. And to add to that, those officers involved have also been very gracious to the people of Elmwood Park and extended when their different pay scales will take effect, so they always need to be commended for that. But we've always pushed on all of those items. And any of the time that the chief, past chief, current chief has come up, I've tried to offer that support as well. Even when our critics said, don't get involved with National Night Out, I did. We met a number of people here in the audience. It's been one of the greatest things we've done within the community here. We've seen several hundred people come out each time. So I continue to support our local PBA. At the last time when I abstained, I called Chief Johnson, let him know where I was, where my feelings were, and I told him then, I fully support him, I fully support all of his brothers and his sister downstairs and what they do, and I will continue to do that with anything else that comes across me on my desk as a councilman. And hearing what Councilman Foncino said here tonight regarding adding 2 other officers, I will fully support that as well when that comes forward to us. And we also still need to fill out the table of organization that still has some empty holes with the retirees that have left. And I've already told Chief Johnson, whatever he wants to put into those places, I fully support as well. So I'm sorry, but I will have to abstain again tonight when the vote happens.
Any other comments?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to say something. I learned early on that during the course of negotiations, both parties have to leave the table feeling like they won. Of course, each side wants to gain as much as they can, but ultimately, if that is steadfast, we're never going to come to a quick resolve, an amicable resolve. And I feel that we achieved that in these negotiations that have just passed with the police department.
Anybody else? We're going to have 2 abstentions, I believe, and I hope there are enough votes to pass this. One of my concerns is that Mr. Chewinski, Mr. Coletti, and I signed a statement of agreement with the arbitrator or the mediator, and then we went back and we got the approval of the council to give the contract, to approve it. And now, if we say, hey, listen, we like your contract, we just don't want to pay for it, I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong. If we all and I'm not disagreeing with what they said, they have some valid points. But if we all decided we wanted to abstain, we're in violation. We approved the contract, now we have to pay for it. It's an unfair labor practice. I want to vote no, we're going to abstain. If we all abstain because we all feel the same way, we got a major problem. So I think that's wrong. I really do. I think that, we don't like it, fine, we don't like it. We have binding arbitration. We went through the arbitration procedure, and we have to pay for it. And what I said last meeting, public meeting, was that 3 years ago when we signed the contract, it was 3.95. Now it's 1.95. So we cut them 2%. The salary they're getting is 2% less. That's a major item. Plus, they are now paying, the police department's paying into their pension, which is substantial. They're also paying into their health benefits, which is substantial. I would guesstimate that the amount of money they're getting in this increase, the amount of money they're putting back, maybe a wash may be a little bit better for them, but not much more. So, we all don't like everything that's going on, but as Mr. Coletti said, it's a binding arbitration. We do the best we can, and we did get 1 or 2 other items in there. As for the other comments made about hiring police, etc., gentlemen, I am not going to put my name on the line that we're hiring anybody at that time. That's part of our negotiation. We've already said we're hiring people. Now, if we back off that, we have a problem. So let's leave the negotiations, the hiring, and the promotion to the council meeting before we approve the vote. Call the roll, please.
Roll call, Councilmembers Castiglione,
Yes.
Coletti,
Yes.
Conboy,
Abstain.
Chouwitsky,
Yes.
Valentino,
Abstain.
Work is absent, motion carries. Mayor, this evening we have resolution R 125-12, introduced ordinance 12-04 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that the ordinance entitled "An Ordinance to Exceed the Municipal Budget Appropriation Limits to Establish a Cap Bank." Whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, February 16, 2012, and that further consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting. Whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same. And therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled "An Ordinance to Exceed the Municipal Budget Appropriation Limits to Establish a Cap Bank" pass on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open to the public.
May I have a motion, please?
So,
Mr. Coletti, second. Second. Mr. Scrivia, all in favor? Also ordered. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any comments about the 2012 municipal budget, please come to the microphone, give your name and address, and statement. If there are no comments on the municipal budget, I'll close the public portion of the meeting.
Mayor, through you, this would be on the ordinance to exceed the cap bank. We'll have another opportunity to speak on the budget after we adopt this resolution.
Call the roll.
On roll call, council members Castiglione.
Yes.
Coletti.
yes.
Conway.
Yes.
Chouwitsky.
Yes.
Valentino.
Yes.
Work is absent. Motion carries. Mayor, at this time, we'll have resolution 126-12, which is the self-examination of the 2012 municipal budget. Whereas, from your reading in full?
Yeah.
Whereas NJSA 48:4-7B has authorized the local finance board to adopt rules that permit municipalities in sound fiscal condition to assume the responsibility normally granted to the Director of the Division of Local Government Services of conducting the annual budget examination. And whereas NJAC 5:30-7 was adopted by the local finance board on February 11, 1997. Whereas pursuant to
Yes,
NJ.
Mike? I don't think we have to go through that whole thing. Okay. May I have a motion to start the budget of 2012?
This is on the self-examination.
Open to the public?
Second. Oh, sorry.
Actually, Mayor, we need to adopt this resolution before we open this public. So I have a motion and a second. Motion made by Councilman Chouwitsky, second by
Too many
Councilman. Roll call. Councilmembers Castiglione.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Conway.
Yes.
Chouwitsky.
Yes.
Monsino. Work is absent. Motion carries. Mayor, at this time, we'll take a motion to open the floor to the public.
Are you sure?
I am.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Conway, second. And Mr. Boncino, any discussion, all in favor, opposed, so ordered. Again, is there anyone who wants to comment on the 2012 municipal budget? If not, I'll close the public portion of the meeting. And any comments on the budget from the council? No comment?
You worked hard.
Somebody comment. We have our CFO here, we have our auditor here, nobody's commenting on the budget. What I'll say is we put a lot of
You
time.
don't see anybody have here. There's been some talk between the Board of Education, also a letter about the surplus net. We should discuss it a little, or maybe nobody's interested, I don't see anybody from the public on the call.
Mr. Rigatano, our CFO.
Mayor, Council, public. The 2012 municipal budget is using surplus in the amount of $2,540,000. That's the final number for the budget. It is not restricted. It was unrestricted funds that have been committed to give back to the taxpayers in the form of surplus. That money is dedicated to the residents, and by passing this budget this evening, the Mayor and Council have affirmed that decision in the form of the resolution and adoption of the 2012 budget. That's my comment.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor, if I may, may read Resolution 127-12 into the record. Be it resolved that the governing body of the Borough of Oak Park, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, that the budget herein set forth and hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purposes stated for the sums therein set forth as appropriations and authorization in the amount of $16,577,985 for municipal purposes and $761,965 for minimum library tax. It is hereby certified that this budget, a true copy of the budget finally adopted by the resolution of the governing body on the 5th day of April 2012. Now I'll need a motion.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Conway, second. Second, Mr. Bonzino. Mr. Rigatano, what will be the average homeowner's?
The average assessment, 1 and 2 family home is $331,689 as per the reval that was just conducted in the last few years. A tax point is $204,829. The municipal levy, and only the municipal tax levy, the average increase is going to be $89 a house.
That's municipal only.
Municipal only for the year. It is one of the lowest, if not the lowest increase that the mayor and council has directed the finance committee and myself to get back to the taxpayers. And the public needs to understand the surplus that we generate is going back to the taxpayers in the form of a tax reduction. We are far below the 2% tax cap levy that the government has imposed. We actually are banking that money for future years, where if we do have quote-unquote a rainy day, we will have those funds available also to ensure that the services, as the mayor and council said, whether it be the police, fire, or the other departments, that we'll be able to fund those programs in the future without a spike in the tax levy.
Mr. Rigatano, one last item. This is the municipal budget, does not include the county budget, does not include the open space budget, and does not include the Board of Education.
That is correct. The reason I do not comment on the Board of Ed at this time is I have preliminaries that I've read on the website. And until what is called the Form A4F, which is a certification that is signed by the municipal clerk and forwarded to the Division of Taxation, specifically the County Board of Taxation, we don't have a final number until those documents are signed. But I can tell you preliminary, some of the numbers that are out there that the council usually likes to inform the public. The school right now is approximately $200 increase. That's predicated on values that I saw of $1.4 million increase in the tax levy. I took that from the Board of Ed, their website. The county is going up perhaps 1 cent is some of the readings I've read in some of the newspapers. That's going to be minimal increase as well. Maybe, did you want me to talk about the other communities very quickly? Just to give you a gravity of how Elm Park's doing, which is relatively quite well in the tax levy. The city of Garfield, their municipal portion is going up $54. Their school is going up as an Annenberg district, $14 this year. The Borough of Palisades Park, their municipal levy is going up $95. The school is going up $0 increase. So you can see the gravity of what we have here in Elm Park with the school levy and with our municipal levy as compared to some of the surrounding communities that are, quote unquote, somewhat of the same size, except of course for the school district of Garfield, which is an Annenberg school district.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yeah, we have a question, right, so basically, on $330,000 assessment, what would be the total, incorporating all the different facets?
My educated guess without the final forms, other than us, it's going to be about $290 a household, and you're responsible for 77, the municipal portion. which includes the tax of the library.
That's
Library is inclusive.
Library, school, municipality.
No, yes,
209 on $330,000.
no, 290.
Probably realistically, probably gonna be about 310 tops.
Thank you.
But I like to keep it to the forum here that we did our homework here on the municipal side, getting that $77 increase, which again, for the years I've been here, it is probably the lowest. And through the finance chairman of the finance committee, we went back on this budget 3 separate occasions, and we cut to get it to this number. Thank you.
Call the roll,
Mayor,
please.
sorry, I just want to make another comment. I don't want to cut off Bob. Just before these 2 gentlemen leave, I also want to congratulate, I want to thank all the department heads. Chief, all the other department heads, Scott Cars, you know, everyone who they know, they all are department heads. Our borough clerk, Keith Kazmark, Mayor, is that the town? They all work pretty hard. This is never, God knows, when you get your budget document to begin the work, every department head goes, oh, again, we just finished it. But as I've always said since I've sat here, a budget is a document that's constantly in working document. Just because we're done, we're finished, doesn't mean we stop. Every day, Roy will come in and department heads will come in, and Keith will come in here to the borough and look to say, what did we do yesterday, what did we spend? Because, as you know, we track our spending weekly and so forth. And, you know, the council, the mayor and council, again, continues to do what it can to help guide us all through this all. And as I've always said before, I know I sound repetitive or a broken record, I hate to keep saying it, but, you know, we don't say, okay, let's get through this year. We say, and Mr. Lurch can attest to this because he's now always coming with the future numbers as well as Roy and us. It's not just getting through this cycle. It's what's going to happen, what do we think Trenton's going to say, what do we think that's going to happen, what do we think the county's doing, what about at the Board of Education? We try to encompass everything. What about ourselves? What does each department need? And so forth. So it's not just, we like to be, you know, future thinkers when it comes to the budget. And I think, again, we continue to do another great job. So I just want to thank everybody for being a part of it and these 2 men for helping us as well. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments? I think this budget, just like many of the other budgets in the past, gives us a sense of stabilization. We don't have any peaks, we don't have any valleys. We try to keep it stable so that one year does not cost the taxpayers a great amount of money. And the second year, all of a sudden, certain people are running on the council, and we have a reduction. And then we have another peak. I can name about 3, 4, or more communities in Bergen County that function that way. We don't like to do it that way. We have an increase, it's a minor increase, and you can start planning on it. You don't have to worry about the following year that it's going to go up dramatically. So that's the philosophy that I've always carried. I think the council is doing the same thing this year by trying to keep a stable budget. And I think our CFO and our auditor agree with that over the years. Am I correct? Yes. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Roll call on adoption of the 2012 municipal budget. Councilmembers Castiglia.
Yes.
Paletti.
Yes.
Conboy.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Alcino.
Yes.
Work is absent. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mayor, this evening under the consent agenda, we have resolution 128-12.
Excuse me, although we give our department heads and our CFO and our auditor all kinds of accolades, I don't think they can say here in front of the TV camera and smile that they did the whole thing. If you want to recuse yourself. Thank you for your work.
Mayor, this evening under the consent agenda, we have resolution 128-12, payment of bills, resolution 129-12, confirmation of checks, resolution 130-12, confirmation of payroll, resolution 131-12, appointment of James D. Padova, permanent status of the building department that's based on a civil service examination that was completed, resolution 132-12, authorizing shared services with the Borough of Lodi for health officer services, resolution 133-12, appoint Bosco Engineering, licensed site remediation professional for Borough of Mountain Park, resolution 134-12, authorization of agreement for the 2012 mutual aid agreement for the fire department, resolution 135-12, agreement of adopting a flexible spending plan for the Borough of Mountain Park, and resolution 136-12, appointment of Deborah Rodriguez, Senior Exercise Program Instructor. Mayor, I'd actually like to withdraw Resolution 136-12 till the next public meeting.
Any particular reason?
We're actually in the process of discussing with this individual whether they're going to be part of payroll or whether they're going to get paid in LLC.
Okay, but we're going to be right.
Yes.
Can I have a motion to delete 36-12? Moved by Mr. Lonsino, second by Mr. Chouinski. Roll roll, please.
Discussion on it?
Yeah.
Discussion first?
This is just.
Oh, I have to remove it, I'm sorry.
136.
Sorry, Mayor. Sorry to throw you a curve.
On roll call, council members Castiglia.
Yes.
Paletti.
Yes.
Conboy.
Yes.
Lewinsky.
Yes.
Lonsino. Councilman Work is absent. Motion to remove 136-12 carries.
Motion on the consent agenda. Moved
Second.
by Mr. Chouinski, second by Mr. Conroy. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, just like to make a couple of quick comments on two things here. Today in the form of government, or today in this world as we move forward, hopefully we're coming out of some of the economy darkness, but the words shared service scares a lot of folks. I can understand that. I just want to take a few minutes just to touch on something that's here in the consent agenda tonight. We're going to be entering into a shared service with another municipality to share in Lodi, share our health officer. A year or so ago, it was that long ago, maybe a little short of that, maybe 10 months ago, Councilman Chouinski came forward with an idea of looking into shared services with Saddlebrook. The mayor also took the lead as well, and they got involved and started talking with the mayor over in Saddlebrook and so forth, and to bring Saddlebrook on as well as a shared service in our town, as sharing our health officer. There was a lot of pushback on that part from the health board, from everyone. Again, those are the words, shared services. What does it mean? At the heart of it, some of it was, can we meet these needs? Will we be able to still meet the needs of the people of Delaware Park? Here we are, we're not even 6 months into the agreement with Saddlebrook, and Lodi has also been at the table negotiating with our folks, the Board of Health. Councilman Work is not here, he played a big part in it as well, to make this happen, that we have another community looking to share our health officer. I'm proud to say, on behalf of everybody, everything seems to be working very well, and everyone is being serviced very well. I think we're probably ahead of the curve where we thought we'd be as far as progress. Obviously, we are. We're taking on another community. Also, our plumbing stuff from us is going to be shared by another community, correct? We're negotiating. I don't want to say with communities, but we currently, as you know, have a shared service where we're using our building inspector is being used with Rochelle Park. That is all. Councilman Chouinski is taking a lot of the lead on that, and I just want to thank him, as well as the mayor and council, all of us, for spearheading all that and taking it on. It's working. And as scary as it is, this is done to help reduce taxes. These communities are paying us for these services to help bring burden off the taxpayers. And I think that's a perfect example of what we heard tonight of where we are as our budget is concerned. So I just want to, again, thank Councilman Chouinski, Councilman Work, working on with the Board of Health, and everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I would also like to thank Mr. Tony Anthony Luna, who was the city manager of Lodi, for working very closely with us and asking for support. We've been working quite closely with Lodi on various number of items, and the community sharing is working. I'd like to indicate that we can play ball with each other this way, with community sharing, and since I know Tony Luna and played ball with him back in high school, we're still playing ball. They're winning in Lodi by saving money. We're winning here by saving money. So it's a mutual agreement where let's work together and let's try to save money. And Mr. Conboy is absolutely right that we're well ahead of many other communities by doing this. Call the roll, please.
On roll call, Councilmembers Castiglia.
Yes.
Paletti.
Yes.
Conboy.
Yes.
Lewinsky.
Yes.
Lonsino. Yes. Work is absent. Motion carries.
And I'd also like to thank the Council President, Keith Work, who was for his diligent work in getting this agreement with Lodi done.
Mayor,
And Mr. Chouinski.
under resolutions tonight, we have resolution 137-12. approval of the PDA contract. Whereas the Borough of Elmwood Park, PDA Local 185 are parties to a collective bargaining agreement, and whereas PDA Local 185 filed a petition to initiate futures arbitration on or about February 1st, 2012, and whereas the parties engaged in mediation, at which time a memorandum of agreement was executed. And whereas the mayor and council believe that the memorandum of agreement is in the best interest of the borough, and therefore wish to ratify same. Therefore, be resolved by the mayor and council, the borough of Elmwood Park, do hereby authorize the ratification of the agreement between the borough and PDA Local 185.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Colletti, second by Mr. Conway. Any discussion?
Mayor, if I may, again, as I stated when we introduced the ordinance relative to this contract, the original contract that we voted on was missing one of the tables outlining the police salaries. The contract we got before you tonight is incomplete document.
Oh,
Mayor, can I just ask a quick question? Is there any way you can amend that, just add that on another ordinance?
No, it's a substantive change because it wasn't in the original ordinance, so it had to be reintroduced.
Whole one?
Yes.
any other questions? Roll.
On roll call, Councilmembers Castiglia,
Yes.
Coletti,
Yes.
Conboy, Truinsky,
Yes.
Lonsino, Council Ward is absent, motion carries. Mayor, this evening under applications, we have mobilization for Animal Rights Incorporated 50/50 application.
Motion?
Yes.
May I have a motion on the, Mr. Truinsky, second.
Second.
Mr. Conway, any discussion? Roll, please.
Councilmembers Castiglia,
Yes.
Coletti,
Yes.
Conboy,
Yes.
Truinsky,
Yes.
Lonsino.
Yes.
Work is absent, motion carries. Departmental reports, Recreation Commission minutes for February 21st, 2012, Municipal Court report for February 2012, and Recreation Director's report for March 2012.
Motion, please, on all to accept the proceeding file. Mr. Stigler, second. Mr. Lozino, all in favor, opposed, so voted. Committee reports. Where do we start? That's right. All right. Mr. Stigler.
All right, we had a planning board work meeting last night. Now, all three applicants that came in here last night for the meeting are going to be moved to next month's work and public meeting. Actually, it's with the applicant's approval also. Actually, they were incomplete applications, there was some problems. Their lawyers have to research the material and come back again, so they'll be back next month. There's a nail salon. There's a nail salon on Market Street. And at the shopping center, the Elmwood Shopping Center, one of the applications was for a laundromat in the shopping center, and another one was for a fitness center. So their attorneys have to go out and find some more information. They'll be back next month. As far as the DPW goes, they're out repairing potholes. Should be almost completed by now. The street sweeper is also on schedule. They've been out repairing and installing some street signs for the police department. Startup and maintenance on the ball fields is also on schedule, for the upcoming seasons. And yard waste pickup has begun this week. Reminder again, put out your yard waste on the same day as your regular recycling. With your bottles and cans or with your paper, yard waste should go out that same day. As far as buildings and grounds, some men from the DPW were in this building. They were painting and replacing some ceiling tiles downstairs in the all-purpose room. And if you notice the nice painted railing by the back entrance, they got that done also. Now, everybody knows that we didn't get much snow this year, so we were saving some money on going out and plowing snow and salting. We had a sewer main break down on Cadmus last month. The emergency contractor came in. The original estimates were for about $60,000 to $80,000. I understand we finally got a final bill on it, and it was around $103,000. So that's the way things go. Whatever money might have been saved from not plowing snow, there it went. It seems that they had to dig down a lot deeper than anybody expected it to be. That's about it.
It's not about it. Good things and bad things. We saved money on the snow, and we spent $103,000.
No, that's the way it goes.
Let me just.
Good that we saved money on the snow.
Let me just elaborate on that. Okay, this was a sewer break in the Cherry Hill district. Now, most of your sewers, and I'm sure Mr. Truinsky and Mr. Coletti, who are in that business, Most of your sewers are 10, 12 feet down. This was down 27 feet. We had to bring in an outside firm so they can shore it up, so they can go down. We had to cut the water line, because the water line came over the sewer. You name it, we had to do it. $103,000 for that. Now I'll read your mind. Why was it down 27 feet? I don't know. There's a retention basin from Route 46. It's called Mosquito Jungle. That's in the area. I don't know when those buildings were put up. Part of the World War II buildings to help out the people who work over at the factory down here that made ball bearings, Curtis Wright. I don't know if they put the buildings up and they just brought more dirt in after they put the sewer to put the buildings up, and it was down 27 feet. People down in DPW don't recollect any place else in town but in town that far. I was going to go down and help, but I was pranked. So I didn't go down. I did go, as Mr. Truinsky and a few of the other councilmen did, to look down that hole. Couldn't see the men working on it. It was that dark down there. They had flashlights to light up the area. With a tremendous, I'm just hoping we don't get another one a little further down somewhere. Oh, plus we had a tree there that was over 100 years old that we had to cut down that was right on top of that sewer. Mr. Conboy?
I didn't put the tree there, and I didn't break that there. And I didn't fit down the hole anyway, so. I was ready to push. All right, I also am a liaison to the Chamber of Commerce. It's really starting to thrive. It's under all of its leadership, all the great members in the community, businesses here. They're doing a wonderful job. They've got the most members ever since even in the prior one. Nothing against the prior chamber, but these guys are real go-getters to get businesses involved, and I think it's a wonderful thing. Their next meeting is next Tuesday, the 10th at 7 p.m. at BioReference. You can check, if anyone here in the audience would like to go, you can just see the president of the chamber in the last row there, Mr. Barreca, hide behind all over there. You can't be seen that, you all tucked out away. So, you know, one of the things that's been great about their meetings, it's really opening up a lot of dialogue with department heads, with different various facets of our town departments here have been attending. This particular meeting, I believe Debbie Ritchie, our health officer, is under the spotlight. So I'm sure it'll be a great meeting. So that's next Tuesday at 7 p.m. At BioReference. Although nobody will see this until after, tomorrow's Good Friday, as we all know, and the rec is open. One of the things the Mayor and Council did a few months back was to make allocations so that the rec could be open, even though the staff, it's a holiday for them. The rec will be open tomorrow. They're having all-star basketball games. They invented a Friday fun day over at the rec, so while the kids are out of school, they've been posting and advertising and so forth. So on some of these holidays now, the rec will be open. So tomorrow, Mom, Dad, not just for Good Friday, but other holidays that will come up, send your kids over to the rec. Like I said, they even came up with themes so the kids could have fun. Tomorrow is an all-star basketball theme day, Fun Friday. You know, folks, there's been a lot of discussion on a lot of things, and I'm going to touch on a couple here. You know, I was at the last Board of Education meeting. Unfortunately, my work schedule, I don't get to make as many as I like, but I was at the last one. Obviously, it was an important one, with the busing issue being on there. You know, and I heard from the Board of Ed members, you know, it's time to bring the community back together. It's time to do this. I'm sure they meant it. I know sometimes I say things up here as well that maybe people don't believe the sincerity of it as well. But, you know, we still have 2 summer camps. The superintendent's sitting in the audience here tonight. I'm sure you're not going to try to put him on the spot, but why can't we just have 1 summer camp? You know, last year the Board of Education put out one. They charged you $350. You got free trips, free lunch, and free busing. This year they're charging you $390. It's a $40 increase. You're going to have to pay for some of the trips, and you're going to have to pay for the busing. Our camp last year and this year stayed at $290. The town's camp that has been going on well before I became a councilman. I believe the mayor started instituting it with Rich DeMoro, previous superintendent, and it's always been a summer camp that's been modeled after. It was always considered to be one of the best summer camps in the area. Let it stay that way. Why do we have to have, you know, everyone wondering what camp they're going to? I am very excited to announce here to the council that registration is going very well. We've had more people registered now at this point than we even had the last 2 or 3 years. So something must be working because the folks are coming back to the camp. It's $100 cheaper than the current, if you go to the current Board of Ed camp, it's $390, ours is still $290. You don't get free lunch, but you can bring your own, or 2 years ago, Mr. Police brought in a very good gourmet food company from Wayne, who actually brings your lunch at strategic times, so if you ordered something hot, you get it hot. So, also our camp this year will have an extended 2 weeks at the tail end. There will be a fee for it, but now you'll have a 9-week camp. You know, I hope, I guess the only thing I can say to the residents, just go to the rec camp. You know, I guess that's the only way to get rid of one. Just go to rec camp. Again, as I mentioned, there's been a couple of, one thing I want to talk about that was really, I really thought was going to happen. I deliberately stayed out of it just so that, even though I wanted to, or whether I felt I should go just to, try to get, both sides there or whatever. But I did stay out of it. There was great men and women at the table discussing it. The 2 baseball leagues. For years now, Little League has always put out the olive branch to come back together. There's always been, resistance. I understand, and at the end of the day, you could say maybe the resistance started with me. But at the end of the day, something happens, something's missing, I'm going to go find it, and I did. And to this day, there's a lien on someone's home, and now hopefully someday that money will get paid back. But look, that was then. That's almost over a decade ago. Let's bring the 2 leagues back together. It almost happened. I'm sad to say it didn't, over basically like $20, because the school, as you know, is taking over the EPJBL. They're paying their insurance, which is also going to have out-of-towners. So that means that our tax dollars are being used to pay for other kids to play for out of town, to take playing time away from other kids in town. Now, both leagues, EPJBL and Little League, when they were separate, and I guess you might still say they are separate, they also do take out-of-towners. But they're self-running organizations. EPJBL paid their own insurance. Now the town is paying for their insurance. So we're paying tax dollars that could be spent, it may be minuscule, maybe the policy is only $1,100, regardless. We're paying insurance, your tax dollars are paying so that other kids can play. When they were separate entities, and which Little League still is, and has EPJBL has an affiliation, your tax dollars are not paying their insurance. So you're paying for kids to play from out of town. Where in the other case, they paid for their own insurances. So it's a shame it didn't come back together. Under the school, registration was one amount, Little League was another amount. When EPJBL was its own entity, their registration numbers were almost, their dollar registration dollar was almost the same. So I'm just sad to see it couldn't have come back together. I respect the AD's opinion and the confusion parents would feel about how we could come about coming up with the difference in pay. I think there's a lot of great ideas, and I wish they could have happened. Hopefully it'll happen next year. I hope my comments don't make it not happen. I'm just speaking there's been a lot of talk about the 2 leagues, been a lot of talk about what has happened and so forth, and I think it's only fair that everyone understand what happened. They were great meetings, and I think just for a matter of a few dollars, I even made the comment, should have brought it back to the rec. It was a matter of making up a difference of a couple of $1,000. I think it's fair to say that everybody probably up here would pass the hat just to make up the difference if that was the breaking point out of their own pocket just to see the kids back together as one. So I hope that happens in the future. Other rec programs have come under attack over the last year about how they are run and everything else. Again, due to my work schedule, I wasn't able to attend, but I know the mayor could add to this, he was there. Our soccer program, which now one group has an affiliation with the school, and there's the rec soccer, our soccer program. Soccer right now is thriving again in Elmwood Park. Hopefully that makes Mr. Conti happy. He always wants another soccer field in English Avenue, which is coming. But Saturday they had a kickoff to spring soccer. Mary, I know you were there, they gave you a hard hat. And there was over 300 people in attendance. We now have 8 spring soccer teams. That's not good news for softball and for baseball, but kids are playing spring soccer, and we have over 8 spring soccer teams now. So great job by the rec and all those individuals involved. You know, a couple last notes. You know, another thing that we took some criticism over, so many months ago, members came in from the Board of Education about offering this proposal to take over the Recreation Department. This is exactly why the mayor and all of us that were there, and all of us discussed after, said that we would not take this kind of proposal. Because here they are in a budget crunch, and we said the first thing you'd probably get rid of is sports or the recreation or this. In this case, it's busing. So this is why we did not and would not accept something like that. I also just want to end on a couple of positive notes. I'd just like to thank Penny Forestieri and all the coaches over at the rec for giving the children another great basketball season. The teams all did a phenomenal job. The 7th and 8th grade boys traveling team had a lot of upsets. They upset a lot of teams in March Madness, made it to the championship, and only lost by 6 points. It was a great game. When they only lost by 6, throughout the entire game, the score went back and forth. So they really had a great game. I also want to take a few minutes just to congratulate all the basketball teams also were at St. Leo's. They won 4 crowns this year. The 5th and 6th grade boys, which is coached by Mike Rivera, they did a great job. They won by 2. The 7th and 8th grade girls were the Hudson County champs for the CYO. And Coach George Nova, whose son plays over at Rutgers, he won 2 championships. He's the Bergen County CYO champs, and they're the G4 champs. So, great job of the kids of our community. Thank you, Mayor. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter. I forgot myself.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, someone shoot me. I couldn't speak.
Thank you. I just want to comment that I didn't need to get up.
I get paid by the word.
Councilman Conway's report, but as mayor, I had the authority to go over and shut the air conditioning off. I knew that some people were cold because everybody is sitting there with their arms folded, and that gives the first indication that we're cold, especially the ones who came in with short sleeve shirts. Mr. Boncino.
Thank you. I have one additional quick note regarding the police department. In my summary earlier, I alluded to an accreditation that Chief Johnson is seeking. And during our meeting the other day with the police committee and Chief Johnson and Lieutenant Pasquale, we talked about accreditation and Chief Johnson's intent on seeking accreditation for his department. And accreditation is probably a year-long process where they do a thorough review of our policing procedures and policies. They update accordingly to the mandates and requirements, and then take on training for the department, and then have to demonstrate continuous improvement beyond that. I know in my own business we go through an accreditation process for our policies and procedures on an annual basis, and we're audited. So I applaud Chief Johnson for, in addition to some of the staffing and organizational issues we've discussed, he's really looking forward and how to bring the department forward in the future. I do applaud our police committee on that initiative. On March 19th, Mr. Kazmark, Mayor Mola, Councilman Glenny, and I met with the Department of Transportation and New Jersey Transit to discuss the crossing situation on Broadway at the train station. I'm not sure how many of you commute or use the New Jersey Transit train at the Broadway station, but it's quite an experience trying to cross that crosswalk, especially at peak times in the morning, rush hour, and in the evening when folks are coming home from work. I witnessed firsthand, and I guess it's like the game Frogger for some of the commuters trying to cross Broadway at peak times there. Our police department in the last year did an enforcement, and I think they cited about 90 or so individuals that failed to stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk. Before I came on council, the Department of Transportation actually did a study of that intersection and concluded the same thing, but because of financial constraints, the only thing they were able to do at the time was put up those pedestrian-initiated lights, which really, in my opinion, don't suffice for the amount of traffic and the design of that crosswalk. We didn't come up with any solutions at that meeting. We certainly discussed a number of them. There are a number of different options. But I think our next steps are to meet with the governing body in Fairlawn and jointly draft a letter to the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation seeking a definite improvement, whether it be a pedestrian bridge or another type of control at that intersection. Because unfortunately, what's going to happen is there'll be a serious accident where somebody gets seriously injured, possibly killed, and then all of a sudden the money will show up somewhere. So we want to do that before that happens, and I know I will others on the council be proactive in trying to push Trenton to act there at that intersection. Real quick note, on the library, about a month ago, I talked about a surplus, unrestricted surplus at the library. I spoke to Mr. Leibowitz, and he wrote an article that summarized my view and some of the council's view on that surplus. In reviewing the article, I noted Ms. Silverman, our president of our library board, spoke in general terms about how they want to spend the money, but nowhere did she spoke specifically about a strategic plan. And in my opinion, they don't have a strategic plan for the library and a vision for the future of the library. I did some research on the statute that enables the library board to return excess funds to the municipality. And in that, in the steps necessary to implement, they describe what should be in a strategic plan for a library that charts a library's direction for the future. There are 9 parts. I won't list the 9 parts, but the capital plan that the library board sent to Trenton did not address any of those 9 parts. So that leads me to believe that some bureaucrat down in Trenton should rubber stamp that plan and send it back to us. I'm asking our attorney, Mr. Giblin, to review what I discussed at the work meeting. And if indeed I'm accurate, I would like to question Trenton on what they actually looked at and approved and sent back to us. So I will keep on after that. And one final note, again, as I mentioned last month, the Elmwood Park Volunteer Ambulance Corps is having 2 events in the next couple of months. On April 15th, that's a Sunday, 1 to 4, they're having an open house. I encourage all residents to go visit Falmouth Ave, find out what they're all about. I know our Corps is in need of membership. I think you like what you see down there, and if you have some time, try and find a way to commit some time to the ambulance corps. It's really important to the community. In June, on June 3rd, that's a Sunday, 10 to 3, they're going to have their annual car show. They give me this little card to hold up and have to zoom in, and my shaky hand will probably not do it justice. There's some extras in the borough clerk's office, but certainly I'd like to see you there to support the corps. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Clay.
Yes. First, I'd like to commend Dave Myers on the way he handled police negotiation contracts. He was civil and efficient throughout, and they went kind of smooth because of that. The ordinance committee met on April 3rd. That was consisting of Mr. Chewinski, Keith Works, myself, along with our administrator, Keith Kasmark, and our code official, Rich Boland, discussing amending some of our zoning requirements, and that's a work in process. And for those of you that don't know, the school board has recently decided to reduce their busing routes down to state mandatory requirements due to budgetary restraints. Personally, I don't believe this is a good option. Considering if the student doesn't get to the school safe, it doesn't matter what programs you have in place. With today's 2 working parents and single-parent homes, these households have become dependent on the busing of these children. Going to their employers and telling them that they will be coming in 1 hour late and leaving 1 hour earlier could jeopardize their jobs in order to shuttle their children back and forth to school. We would be remiss to allow this to happen. I would hope to see the school board revisit this issue and find a $300,000 deficiency within their $36 million budget, which is less than 1%, and reinstate these busing routes to 2011 levels. Enjoy your holiday, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Chewinski.
Yes, first off, happy Easter and a happy Hanukkah to everyone out there. On the fire department front, there isn't a meeting until next Monday, so I have no formal report on that. Although I'm very happy to see that the standby ordinance is in progress as I'm going to its 2nd reading. I attended the GIF safety meeting at the Fiesta this month with Mayor Mullen, and we received an award for Elmwood Park. I came about 2nd place there, Mayor. We get $1,200 for that award. $1,500. Very few towns got an award because of their safety record. I'm very proud of the employees of Elmwood Park. We're one of the few towns that did get an award.
Mr. Chewinski, the flag is in my office. We want to show the people that
Okay.
CBS.
Like Bob said, the ordinance committee did meet, and there's a serious work in progress about 6 or 7 ordinances, but I'd like to highlight a few that might be coming down the pike. One of them is we're revisiting the two-family ordinance that was passed in 1978, whereby the size of the two families were increased by 5%, providing 4 parking spots for the cars. It seems we have a problem that the landlord is not giving the 2 spots to his tenant. So we're going to say, some way we're looking at to reinforce that where it goes past our inspector at the time of the reoccupancy, that we can revisit and make sure those spots are available. That's what will be reported to the council. Another thing we're looking at is oversized vehicles in residential areas, not pickup trucks or vans or mason dumps. We're looking at tractor trailers and such things of that nature. And also we're looking finally at the Market Street continued COs, where businesses such as Reno or Lills would have to go before our boards for another hearing just to get a CO for a light business. And that we will present to the town council. On the library front, I do agree with Mr. Monsino, just to bear in mind a few things. We are not closing the library as rumors that you might hear out there. The library is in need of some repairs, but it also has excess funds that have been there for many years, and to the library's good standing and their good work, they've saved this money. But remember, that's their job. That's your tax dollars. It's your money. So whatever is left over from the remodeling that is needed should go back to the taxpayers. And I firmly believe that will help you with that. And on the Board of Education front, I see the 2 members here, our super and our EA. I take offense when that letter that was sent to us about giving $300,000 from our surplus. Now, if you look at the City Hall, we go to bare bones, guys, bare bones. The mayor's office is maybe a quarter the size of your offices, and he shares that with someone. We lose people through attrition, we don't replace them. We scrimp and save to have the surplus. Now, I do agree that you do need the busing, but for me, as a councilman, after the Board of Ed has told us that 8 of 10 budgets in the last 10 years were turned down by the taxpayers, which you did turn down to the tune of $4.2 million. However, for us to give that money back is a slap in the face of the taxpayers. That's circumventing the law that you told us to cut. Why did we even go to a vote then? So I would hope there'd be other ways, like Bob has said here, for you to find this money. And now I brings me to the Truinsky plan. Bear in mind you have a number of elementary sports that have taken over. If these sports such as the Bombers, the after-school program, the baseball program, elementary sports, I'm not talking your high school sports, field maintenance, janitorial work, concussion tests and the likes, wrestling and soccer that were taken. I told these up the rough numbers of $325,000, guys. Not to mention, you'll be able to cut back on your AD a little bit, your assistant AD a little bit for 4 or 5 months out of the year. So really look at it. Take this budget apart and look at it, guys. Plus, what I saw with those taxpayers at the meeting the other night, they want this busing, and I think it would work to your benefit. And on the last note, I just want to say to the Senate of New Jersey regarding Judge Kwan, who was killed in the Senate Committee, Judicial Committee. This later went to a vote. This is reminiscent of the Judge Board travesty that happened many years back, where it was killed purely for politics. Here was a man that was well-rounded and well-versed in the law and should have been appointed. Now, these people in the Senate took an oath, impartial. And that is not impartial, guys. That's wrong. So if you get a chance, write them. This is dead wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Our Borough Attorney, Mr. Giblin?
No.
Thank you. Let me do one thing first. Mr. Kazmark, I have Mr. Leo Cullen's resignation from the Board of Recreation. I have it here to take it, please. And what I would like to do is appoint Brenda Hoffman to his remaining position as a member of the Board of Recreation. Brenda Hoffman is, or has been, the leader of girls softball for 41 years now, and I think as a female, she deserves a position on the Board of Rec, filling in Mr. Leo Cullen's position. Secondly, Mr. Conboy did touch on it. There was a first annual Elmwood Park Wrecking Crew, they call it. It's a soccer club. And there was a significant number of people at the recreation center with that. And I have to say that Don Pugliese, our superintendent there, did a great job getting that all organized. Got a tremendous ovation when she was introduced, and deserves a lot of credit. I'd also like to commend her on another situation that came up. We had a fire at one of the businesses on Van Riper Avenue, I think it was a week or 2 weeks ago, and they had to remove the workers there, and the Board of Recreation complied with the police request. They got tables out, they brought in food, and the people came over and sat on the Board of Recreation while the firemen were working on that incident at their place of business. So congratulations on two things to her. The congratulations comes from the Chief of Police also. We did get $146,000 this year to complete Molnar Drive. If you remember, we did half of that a year or two ago, and they gave us additional money this year. That's what we bonded earlier in the year for Molnar Drive, so that should be completed before the year's out. And we got $181,000 for some community development money to enlarge the area south of Kip Avenue on Fleischer Brook, so that we get greater speed of the water going down to the Garfield exit down there. They have an area where the brook then goes into a diversionary line and into the Passaic River. So this will help us reduce the flooding in that area. So those two things Mr. Chewinski did mention. We got $1,500 from the JIP for the tremendous work we're doing keeping accidents down in our community. And I also want to indicate that one of the items that was pulled off our agenda today was the appointment of Deborah Rodriguez, and Mr. Casmark explained you just have to figure out how we're going to pay her. She has a tremendous, the Board of Recreation has a tremendous program for seniors. It's a recreation program. They meet 3 days a week. Any seniors watching this, anybody here who has a parent or a friend or whatever who wants to get some exercise, most of them are sitting down doing the exercising. But they had 50 to 60 people down there last time I went, and it's a tremendous program. So it's not going to cost us a great deal of money. What happened was the county reduced the amount of money they were willing to pay her, and we just picked up. I think it comes out to about $2,000, so that she can stay and provide recreation for seniors and young people at the same time, because it's recreation for the whole community. So I think those are the two things that I wanted to indicate. Molnar Drive must be repaired. $181,000 to fix the brook, another grant. So we are doing extremely well, almost $500,000 this year in grants that we have from the federal government or from community development. With that in mind, I would like to open up the public portion. May I have a motion to open the public portion, please?
So moved, Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Stiglitz. Second by Mr. Stiglitz. Monsino. All in favor, opposed, so voted. If anybody wants to get up and speak, will you please? We have our PBA president who's on a sprinter stance coming up. Mr. Myers, will you please give us your name and address and make your comments, please?
David Myers, 182 Market Street. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to the mayor and the council. I want to start off a couple open remarks here. Collective bargaining has been in existence since the 1930s. United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt himself a supporter of rights of the employees. These laws were enacted because police and fire are prohibited from striking. If we're not able to get them to come to a deal with the table, with the municipal government, we're not allowed to strike. Collective bargaining gives us rules and laws protecting employees to ensure that we have an opportunity to call the governing body to the table to negotiate, which we hope will be in good faith. Law states both sides must sit down at the table 3 times for the date of expiration of the current contract. That was done. Members of the PBA and the council, we did as required, and after the PBA, we viewed the initial proposal from the council. We determined at that point there was no way we were ever going to come to an agreement with what was given to us. So at that point, after settling and following the law and having 3 required meetings, I did, as a PBA president, what I'm allowed to do next. Following the law, I filed for arbitration. So, as per the new law, which had just been changed by Governor Christie, which I know so many of you guys are so fond of, it used to be that we and you guys, the council, would pick the arbitrator. This arbitrator was assigned to this town and to the PBA by the state. Neither one of us knew who it was going to be. It was a blind guy being sent to us, blind on both sides. We were set to have a arbitration hearing on the 1st, March 1st. The mediator turned around and had an open schedule on that Monday. Said he wanted to mediate with us, with both sides, see if we can come to an agreement. Absolutely. We were all happy. And we were happy when the council said that they were going to. Unfortunately, only the mayor and 2 of the council members, who should be commended, Rich Chewinski and Bob Coletti, came to that meeting. And in that meeting, which lasted a good 3 hours, it was an agreement brought together, which was recommended and backed up by the mediator, who was also going to be the arbitrator. He said it was a good deal for both sides. Both sides gave up, and both sides got something. So we agreed to it. Unfortunately, that day, it was agreed on by the 2 sides that were at the table. Not going into the whole long story, but unfortunately, March 1st, we then had to have a hearing, which cost both sides a lot of money. Then again, we were told, it was agreed upon by the council. 6 yeses, from what I was told. 6 yeses to accept the deal. Once that deal was accepted, the timeline stopped with the arbitrator. We had 45 days. If anybody on either side had an issue at that point, it should have been brought up at that point. But we still had the mediator. He was still assigned to us, the arbitrator. We still had a time period that the 2 lawyers from both sides could have filed briefs. And we could have let him decide what he wanted or felt was fair by those 45 days. But the time was stopped because both sides said, we accept this, we want this. I even have a letter from the mediator congratulating both sides for coming to an agreement. In this, as I said before, the mayor and the 2 council members should be commended. Dropped us down 50% more than what we had from our last contract, our last 4-year contract. We went from 395 down to 195. Major drop. Once again, another law that was changed prior to us going to arbitration. But there were other laws that were enacted in this time period, and we never changed our good-natured, bargaining in good faith. We never changed our proposal. We stayed consistent, even though the law has changed drastically. The PBA members agreed to a 195. Yes?
The sign that was just given, we have 5 minutes. I'll close it off. They'll change the tape. We can continue.
Okay.
You have about 4.5 minutes.
The PBA members to agree to a 195 increase each year for 3 years. The total of this, when you do the math, per man per year. So first year, $2,221.50. Second year, $2,325.98. The third year, $2,371.34 for the third year. Those are the yearly increases that my members will get from this contract. Now, in the same time period, Governor Christie enacted another law. The 1.5 that was added on to my current pension. Every member of this PBA have been paying 8.5% every year constantly. It has never faltered from that. We've never taken breaks like the teachers. We've never taken any breaks. Then we get hit with an extra 1.5%. And we were lied to by the governor when he said he was going to secure our pension. It didn't secure my pension. It's used for, and I have the paperwork to show it, as a municipal tax cut to this town. $241,000 tax cut to this town from my money and from the officers in this union, taken from me and given. Nothing was given back to us. I didn't get any benefits, I didn't get any breaks or anything like that. I just got the money taken out of my salary. And then, right after that, oh, by the way, that number, that's $1,785. That comes from my pay to go to your tax relief from the state. Okay, so the first year, let's do simple math. $2,221.50, but I'm already losing $1,785. So we have those numbers. Then the governor also enacts that we're now going to pay 35% of the cost of my benefits from the town. Family benefits for all the guys, roughly $21,000. The first step, paying 25% out of 35%. Right now, every paycheck that I get, starting January 1st, I lose $80.34 out of every check to pay for my health care. Once again, a benefit that I didn't give up. I didn't offer anything. I didn't get anything. It was stolen from me from the governor. The total amount for that, actually in July, that's going to go up to $160.60 out of every paycheck that me and my members get. So when you do the math for the first 12 weeks, $964 for the first half of the year. The second half of the year, that increases to $1,928.16. So 2,221 minus 1,785 minus 964 and then minus 1928. So I'm already upside down. The next year after that, it's going to go, the second year, $5,512.50 out of my paycheck every year. Next after that, $7,350.
Mr. Myers, just we have to have a short break. I'm going to start a recess. We're just taking a brief recess. DBA President Myers, continue.
So that last number is $7,350, which is going to be in the third year of repaying myself and all my guys paying for our health insurance plan. That money also stays to the borough. Now, 1 penny goes outside the borough. And that number will also increase as the cost of the plan increases. So for anybody who's counted to say that it's just money lost for my guys, that what you're paying us, the increases, it's not that way at all. Right now, we're just trying to keep our heads above the water, and we're sinking. But it is what it is. We negotiate in good faith. And that's where it comes to. Unfortunately, it's just, right now the way things are, I can say with the 2 extensions, I was not surprised at all. Disappointed. Disappointed in the system that has been set up for years, tens of years, decades, is being used, whatever, because they don't agree with the laws. Well, I don't agree with every law that I arrest somebody with, but I have to abide by the law. I abide by the law. If there were problems with the vote, if there was problems with the contract, if there was problems with the end settlement, it should have been done within that 45 days. But the fact that this is being done after the fact, after the 45 days expired, to not give the arbitrator another chance to sit there and do it as the law says, which was set up by the governor, it's just mind-blowing. If there was an issue that same night that all 6 of the council members voted on it and accepted it, it should have been brought out at that time. But now, you have me and my guys wondering what's going on. Is it personal? Is it political? We don't know. But it's very, very disappointing to see this. We follow the law. And all we're asking the council to do is to follow the law, the same as we did. The extensions don't help anybody. If you had a problem with it, the time was then. As I've had people coming up, very strong in my life, said to me, numerous times I heard this, your actions speak louder than your words. And right now, I don't see a lot of support. Neither do my members, and that's the problem. That's the problem we have every day. We have a new chief who supports us. We know that he's a new chief. He's a phenomenal guy. He supports us. The problem is we come up here and we don't see the support up here. We negotiated in good faith. We just hope that the council continues on with the good faith. That's why we went the route we did. I have another issue that I want to bring up.
But Dave, can I make a comment to you? Well, like he's not my double. Just go ahead. Sorry, Dave.
On April 2nd, Monday, April 2nd, the Cliffwood pilot. Have any of you guys seen this? I have copies. Mind if I approach so I can give you guys copies? For the audience, the headline on this is from the Cliffwood Pilot, which is an online newspaper, dated April 2nd, 2012, at 8:46, so this past Monday. Bergen County PD could police Elmwood Park / Rutherford. That's it right here.
Please address your comments.
My comments are, I thought this was all put to bed. I don't understand where this is coming from. This is coming here and it's saying that officials from Elmwood Park and Rutherford discuss and have the Bergen County Police resume responsibility for boroughs. I had questions about this, so I contacted the editor and the person who wrote this. He told me, after speaking to his contact, which obviously he's not going to tell me, told me to poll the individual council members. That was his words to me, from where he got the story from. Now, normally I would have thrown this out. I would have just completely thrown out, knowing that the council voted on it, talked about it, voted on it in a work session, and that, you know, Mr. Castiglia, Councilman Castiglia himself brought it up on the floor in a public meeting saying that no further talks were going to be sought from Elmwood Park to Bergen County. But I am aware that right after Mr. Castiglia's comments, at another public meeting, one of the council members was heard saying, this is a rough quote, said that the merger is not over, just hasn't happened yet, and that the police department costs too much to operate. We're going to have to look at doing something else. So had I not heard that from a reliable source, I would have just completely thrown it out the window. But now it makes me wonder, is something still going on? My question, on behalf of myself and the members of the PBA, Local 185, is there any member of the mayor or the council or any employee within the borough that is continuing to look into a police merger.
You want me to poll the council?
I would love that, if you wouldn't mind, sir.
But before I do that, and I don't know if I will, this council did vote, and the minutes are available to you, to not have any contact with the county in relation to having the police department be taken over by the county. That was a vote that we all took, and it was 6-0.
Right.
Now, if there's anyone here who wants to indicate that they met with this individual, they can. Otherwise, my opinion would be that this council was honest in saying that our vote was we're not going to be discussing anything with the council. Okay?
I'm satisfied. Public, everybody satisfied?
I will tell you this, I do have a meeting with the county executive in 2 weeks. If she brings this up, I would just reiterate what this council has indicated.
I appreciate that,
So
sir.
if you find out I'm meeting with the county executive, and I think Mr. Conway's coming with me, we're not going there and discuss the police department. We've already made a decision here that we're not going to get involved with it this time.
I appreciate
I
that.
don't want to say at this time, we're not going to get involved. If somebody brings it up later, I can't do it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? So I don't know where you got this. I did speak to you about it anyway, Paul.
Yes, sir.
Did you get the minutes from,
I have not seen Brian Corby yet. I've been with my daughter all week.
You can keep those, it was in the minutes of our work meeting, I believe, right? That we were not going to continue.
Okay.
Was it public? It's right here.
You did right here in front of everybody on TV.
Right.
Right here.
All right.
That's why I was surprised when this came back out, and I was also surprised at the one set of comments that were said at that other public meeting. So that's what made me concerned.
Okay, if you overall look at the internet, look at the forum. I see Mr. Tom over there and myself, we've been taking a pounding on there. It's baseless. Tell the reporter to come forward. Bring the reporter with you. All right? I welcome that. I'd like to see you here.
Okay.
Were you interviewed for this stuff, Dave?
I did say a couple words on it, yes. And we were 100% against it. It was actually on Monday night, it got put out there, and on, I guess, Tuesday during the day, it was sent to me. So, and that's, as you can see on my comments, it says, during the public meeting, they didn't intend, borough officials also said during the public meeting, they didn't intend to pursue a merger. That's why Elmwood Park PPA Association President Myerson thought it was left. So I didn't say anything other than that we were all told that it was dead.
Well, the item says officials from Elmwood Park and Rutherford are discussing having, that's not happening.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Giblin, our attorney, wants to make a
I
comment.
just want to comment on one thing, Mr. Myers. There were only 2 council members and the mayor there, but that's specifically so that the council was in compliance with the law. None of those meetings was sunshine or advertised in the paper. Had any other council people been there, it would have been a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act. The other council members did want to attend, but I had to advise them that they couldn't.
Okay.
Thank you. That's it?
I know Mr. Conway said he was, I'm done with my statement at this time.
It's okay, Dave. It's okay. I know you're upset, and I don't upset you anymore. And there's no sense in, like you said before, I could share some light on some of the things that you said. Not that they were wrong, but maybe how what translated back there is I'll just leave it there. Hopefully, you, as I said it tonight, Councilman Fincino said it, we fully support you. I do. I talk to you all the time. My issue, again, is just with, and this was an issue that was discussed. I guess I'll kind of touch on it. We did discuss. The unanimous vote came after we were told, well, the arbitrator doesn't really know how to proceed it, how he interprets it. Is it all inclusive? Is not inclusive? There was actually a vote taken to go ahead and test the waters and find out if it is inclusive or not inclusive. Then the next day we came into a meeting and told, can't do that. We have to vote tonight. We have to do this. Councilman Monsino brought all this paperwork downloaded off the governor's website, off the Trenton's website. We went over all these different things, how it says this, that, and everything else. So for us, it was just a matter of discussing what all those things were. At the end of the time, at the end of the day, we were told, the opinion of everybody was this could be costly to both sides. It could also be time-consuming. It could take 3 years. It's new law. It's never been tested, so it's new. So do we go 3 years? Put you guys out here even longer on a loop? Do we do do everything, so we get to a point where we just, all right, let's just do it. And I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on that. Again, it's, Dave, you're talking to a guy who makes $30,000 less. I hear you. I've been paying 80% for my medical benefits since I started working at the age of 18. Well, not 18. Back then it was a lot better. Back then my employees would give me dollar for dollar for 401k. Now they don't give anything. So, I understand, believe me. And you're going to be a dad of two, in 8.5 months, so another, add 3 to your bunch, so I understand. I just hope you understand. My position is not of lack of support. One of my greatest neighbors was Paul, who lived across the street. I still miss him to this day. I hope you don't see it that way. This is just my concerns with what was set up, to whether it should be this or that, and that's it for me. And I don't want to upset you more.
I just don't understand the extensions based on laws that are outside of all of our hands. It's a law set up by the governor, governing body, and governors before him. So that to abstain based on laws is where it's lost on.
I know some people would say extension is no. I didn't think it's fair. Like I said to you early on, as I stated, I take partial blame. Because if you remember that first meeting, that should not have been that meeting. Even when I talked to the chief, he said, and he wasn't even there, he said, I heard from both sides. It's a shame that first meeting went the way it did. You know the meeting, how it went, and I'm not going to rehash it for everybody. And we lost the meeting by trying to go another way, or trying to go over it all. And I said, I let even myself take my own partial blame. I've listened to past council persons, current ones, other people who had their 2 cents on what should come out, what shouldn't have. So. My extension is not in no shape or form. I know it will get taken that way, but it's in no shape or form. I'll let Councilman Francino speak for himself, of lack of support. And you and I have talked so many times, that I hope you know that, but I understand your upset. But all the other members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Rich Tomko, 52 Conestoga Trail in Sparta, Superintendent of Schools, for those of you who don't know me.
Conestoga Trail.
Conestoga, yes, covered wagon, Your Honor.
Yes, I used to teach you that.
I apologize, I did not expect to say anything this evening. I never expected to address council in public. However, I think this is an opportunity, something Mr. Conboy said, to possibly mend some fences here this evening and clear up some things regarding the summer camp. I didn't know it was going to be brought up this evening. I'm sure the council's aware, we did try to get together with the rec department. Mr. DiLorenzo came to a Board of Education meeting, I believe it was December, and requested that the board send a faction of trustees to meet with a faction of the rec board to try to work out some of the differences. They didn't want me there, which I understand. They decided to meet on their own. And they did it. It was and Mr. Right. Mr. Canizzo was there.
You should not have dinner.
And it was a very positive meeting. I think Mr. Garvey did address that as well in January. One of the things that was mentioned at that meeting, which was a big point of contention with the two entities, was the summer camp. And when they left that meeting, my marching orders were to see how we can share this camp in any way. So what we did that meeting, that next board meeting, was I tabled our summer camp to make sure that it was not approved. In turn, the recreation department began to advertise their summer camp. But regardless, we still went a whole month seeing if we could still mend some fences, and obviously we're not there at this time. Again, we reiterated in a meeting that we had that didn't work out too well in this back room, a few of the concerns we had, and I think the rec department, with the mayor's help, if I remember, said that our summer school program wouldn't be an issue. We could bus kids back and forth and you would do some refunds, even though that's not the policy of the rec department. I can assure the council that I can convince the Board of Education to easily support you on running your own summer camp if the Board of Rec would assure us that every student can be accommodated there, including special education students. That's our major concern. As I said at our last meeting, we have an exponential increase in our special education costs. That includes extended school year ESY programs, which we now do in-house, and also students that are mandated to have summer camps. One of the concerns we had was that the recreation department cannot accommodate that. They're talking about costs for aids, special accommodations, and things of that nature. That's why it's important that we still run this camp. One of the other questions you may have is, well, why can't you just take that population of students, et cetera? That's really against any type of special education statute, where in the summer especially, when educational services are supposed to be more recreational, special ed students and regular ed students are supposed to mix together. So again, if I can get assurance, not tonight obviously, but if we can meet and that you guys can accommodate that, I think the Board of Education would definitely support you in that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to be heard? Do we have a fresh statement? No, very good.
I'll try to keep it brief. You know, that's hard for me. Steve Conti, 274 Market Street. I'd like to commend Dave Myers. I think he made a lot of good points for his membership. And I think the only way the membership can get an idea of how the council's behind them is by having a 6-0 vote. And I hope that occurs. River Road project. How many units are actually going in there when the project is completed?
159.
159. And out of that 159, how many are low income?
It's low and moderate income, and the number there escapes me, but it's no more than 18. 16?
I can't remember exactly.
Now, do we have any guarantees from him if he can rent these units for what he's looking for, that he's going to drop the rental price?
Through this year, the units have to be deed restricted to low and moderate income families. They can't be market rate units.
So what is his rental rate? Do we know yet?
It's based upon the
Based upon, is it on their income?
That's what they qualify them up for, but it's based upon the average income throughout the region.
So then are we having another boulevard apartments in reality?
No, he's only allowed 16. So 16.
Okay.
He doesn't make the rents that he wants. He's got
Okay.
the rents that he wants.
And these are 2 and 3 bedroom units?
Yes.
Okay. And they're projecting how many kids?
I think they said no more than 18 kids or something.
No more than 18 kids. That's kind of hard to believe, but okay. I'm just curious when we're going to be getting an addition on Gantner Avenue because...
No, don't start that.
I'm just making a comment.
You
Just
know,
making a comment.
let's indicate that when people go in there, they're paying $2,400 a month, and they start having children, they're moving out, they're buying their own house, they're moving out. And I would be reluctant as a tenant to move into those apartments and have a lot of kids who live across the street from River Road. Where are they going to be?
Is the sanitary sewer line over there big enough to handle the increase?
I'm told it is.
Told it is. Were there any kind of upgrades done on that sanitary sewer line for that project?
I checked with our DPW superintendent, Scott Carson, he says everything is okay.
Okay, but my point is, if when this project is fully rented, and there is an issue with the sanitary sewer line, who's responsible for the upgrades?
There shouldn't be any issue, it's equal time, we can't go over there.
But I'm asking a hypothetical.
I
Would we be responsible for the upgrades, or would he be responsible for the upgrades?
I don't know that answer, and I'm not going to comment on it.
If I may, Mayor, a study probably was done prior, Steve,
Right.
and that's all been figured out and then corrected.
Yeah, but the project prior wasn't what it is now.
No, but for him to get permits on this project, he would have to have gone through that drill.
Okay.
Yes, he has to go to the DEP for that permit, so that's a sewer extension.
Okay.
That has to go through the utilities authority, they have to sign off, then the engineer for Trent has to sign off before it can even consider going to the board.
Am I ever going to get an answer on how much money he was fined for not maintaining his property?
Through you, Mayor. Steve, I'll take responsibility on that. I had asked Rich Bowman, I inquired, I was out last week.
Okay.
And I failed to
Okay.
follow up with him this week.
You know, I ask it every time I'm here.
I did inquire, and he did indicate that he was those numbers.
I see the rail cars were moved on Market Street. How did that get accomplished? There's no rail cars on either side. I was curious.
Telephone, I got that 2-220, I got it.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You know, one of the things, with that railroad crossing, we've called it for years.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go through the whole scenario, they give me a lot of different talk, I've gotten a couple phone numbers, and we'll make sure that.
Well, it's nice to see the cars removed. You don't see them there.
Well, I don't want to say they're not coming back, but they will move.
I'm glad to hear that we're looking to hire police officers because I think you're short in town.
Please don't get, my height has nothing to do with the.
And I'm glad that on record the county merger is off the books here. Regarding Mr. Truinsky about the continuous COs, I feel that the town, it's very difficult for businesses in this town when you have issues with parking. And I can understand being selective at who you rent to, the type of businesses that are coming in. But if the town isn't looking to put in municipal parking, I really don't feel that anybody should deny a like business from coming back into a building. And I think that's an issue in this town, on Market Street, on Route 4, that needs to get addressed. And I hope this continuous CO, when you revisit this, something gets accomplished by then. Cleaning up
Can you just back up there?
Sorry.
I don't think the zoning board, planning board denies them, it's just the process we're trying to streamline. The it's a light business that has to appear before the zoning board.
Well, like Reno's for trying to go back in. I mean,
I agree,
this
we
is
should go
service.
to a zoning officer or something, to streamline the permit process, to save that merchant 2,000 or 3,000. But that's only the folks saying, so it'll be open to the public.
Brought up last time about cleaning up both sides of River Road, heading into Fairlawn with the branches, the fallen trees, things like that. Whenever that's going to get accomplished, I hope the DPW is able to do that, or hire an outside contractor if you have to, because there's a lot of debris there.
Inside the guardrails,
Yeah.
that's County Road.
Okay.
And we usually pick it up.
I know it. I understand it.
Mr. Gaspar, Fuller County.
Is there any talks amongst the other towns that are along the Passaic River about getting to the state about dredging the river and cleaning up the debris that's in the river?
I was at a meeting in Bergen County, Mr. Conti, on the Passaic River, and they had people from the state speaking. I haven't been a freeholder since the year 2000, and it's the same story they're getting back in 2004 too. They haven't changed. They're not going to dredge the river. They're doing whatever they can to do, and I didn't hear anything new that I heard 10, 15 years ago. They're afraid to dredge the river. They don't know what kind of toxins they're going to bring up. And
Well, not
they're
necessarily-
reviewing it. We'll go to the Army Corps of Engineers. They'll do a study, and then we'll have somebody do the study on the study to look at the study.
In town, do we have any abandoned properties or foreclosed properties that the DPW is maintaining?
Yes.
Do we know how many?
No, and we do have a situation going that the property sold, we get the money.
Okay, so we're putting liens on?
Yes, sir. But keep in mind, please, with down DPW people, the time we take to go out and start mowing all these other lawns, you know,
Oh, I know.
it's consumed.
Believe it or not, I'm done, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No one else wishes to speak? May I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Stiglitz, second by Mr. Monsino. Any discussion?
Mayor, for the record, we do have an executive session listed. However, I'm requesting that that be postponed to the next work session.
Okay. Do you want a motion on that?
No.
Just a statement. I was just looking through our minutes here. We did discuss early on before I asked for motion to adjourn.
The shared services that we're working out with Lodi will give us another $45,000. We have shared services with Saddlebrook, which is, I think, $25,000. Yeah, so we're up to close to $75,000 that the borough is earning through shared services with our health department. So we're certainly working with these towns, Saddlebrook and Lodi. They're happy, we're happy, and it certainly helps the taxpayers of both towns. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Conroy, second by Mr. Coletti. People in the audience, thank you for coming. May I shut the air conditioner?
Yes, sir.